The text message came through at 11:47 p.m. on a Tuesday. My hands were still cramping from counting bills at the kitchen table. My entire month's salary spread out in neat stacks under the flickering fluorescent light. I was calculating how much I could spare for groceries after rent when my phone lit up with my father's name. The message was only 4 words, but they hit like a physical blow. Bring money. 6 a.m. Now. I stared at those words, my stomach churning. But it was the next message that made my blood run cold. A voice note from Chloe, my younger sister. Her laugh tinkling like broken glass through my phone's speaker. You should feel honored that your money gets used for beautiful things instead of being wasted on your boring existence. Daddy's waiting. Don't disappoint us again. Before I could even process what was happening, I heard the key turn in my apartment lock. I had never changed the locks after moving out. That was my first mistake. My father Richard walked in like he owned the place. My mother Eleanor gliding behind him with that smile that never reached her eyes. The smile that said she was already counting my money in her head. If you're watching this, please hit that like button and subscribe, because this story is about to get intense. Drop a comment below if you've ever felt like the ATM machine in your own family. Now let me take you back to where this nightmare really began. I grew up believing I was the lucky one. My parents told me that constantly, lucky to have a roof over my head, lucky to have food on the table, lucky that they even bothered to raise me at all. Chloe was the golden child, the chosen one, the daughter who would bring glory to the family name. She was going to be a model, an influencer, someone important. And me, I was going to be the one who made it all possible. From the time I turned 16 and got my first job at a grocery store, my paychecks belonged to the family fund. That is what my father called it anyway. The family fund. It sounded noble, like we were all contributing to something bigger than ourselves, but I was the only one contributing. Every dollar I earned went into that fund. Chloe's dance lessons, Chloe's portfolio shoots, Chloe's designer clothes for auditions. My mother's spa days to help her cope with the stress of managing Chloe's budding career. My father's business dinners where he networked for Chloe's opportunities. I wore the same 3 outfits to school for 2 years. I never went to prom because I could not afford a dress. I ate ramen noodles for dinner while Chloe complained about which restaurant she wanted to try for her Instagram feed. When I got accepted to community college, I was told that college was a waste of money for someone like me. Chloe needed headshots. That was the priority. I could educate myself with YouTube videos. So I did. I worked full-time at a grocery store, then got a second job doing data entry at night. I taught myself Excel, basic accounting, customer relationship management systems. I studied every free online course I could find. And slowly, painfully, I worked my way up. By the time I was 25, I had landed a job as an administrative assistant at a mid-sized marketing firm. It was not glamorous, but it was mine. I had health insurance for the first time in my life. I had business cards with my name on them. I had a desk, but the family fund never went away. My parents did not ask if I had moved out. They assumed I would stay home to save money, which really meant to continue funding Chloe's dreams. When I finally scraped together enough to rent a studio apartment, my mother cried. Real tears. She said I was abandoning the family in their time of need. My father said nothing, but the look in his eyes told me everything. I was being selfish. I was being ungrateful. I was forgetting who had fed me and clothed me for 18 years. So, even after I moved out, the money kept flowing. Every month. Like clockwork. My father would text me a number. Not a request. Just a number. Sometimes it was $500. Sometimes it was $2,000. It depended on what Chloe needed that month. A new camera. A trip to Los Angeles for a casting call. A professional makeup artist for her YouTube channel. I never said no. How could I? They were my family. The night everything changed started like any other collection night. My father and mother showed up at my apartment unannounced. They had started doing that after I moved out, just appearing at random times to remind me that my privacy was a privilege, not a right. I had just gotten home from work, exhausted from covering for a sick coworker and handling an angry client for 3 hours straight. I had not eaten since lunch. My feet ached. All I wanted was a shower and sleep. But there they were, standing in my kitchen. their eyes fixed on the envelope of cash I had withdrawn earlier that day. My entire paycheck minus rent and utilities. I had been planning to use some of it to finally replace my winter coat, the one with the broken zipper and the torn lining. But that plan evaporated. The moment they walked in, my mother spoke first. Her voice was light, casual, like she was asking me to pass the salt. Is that enough for Chloe's new campaign shopping spree? She needs to refresh her wardrobe for the lifestyle brand partnership. You can cover rent next month. Right? The words hung in the air. I looked at her, really looked at her. And for the first time I saw the calculation in her eyes. She was not my mother in that moment. She was a business manager, assessing her resources. And I was not her daughter. I was a line item in a budget. Something inside me cracked. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the 3 years of living on instant noodles while funding someone else's Instagram aesthetic. Maybe it was the fact that I had just been told I was being considered for a promotion at work. The first real recognition of my worth as a professional, and these people could not even ask me how my day went before demanding my money. No, I said. My voice came out smaller than I wanted it to, but it came out. I need this money. I have bills. I have expenses. I can't keep doing this. The silence that followed was suffocating. My father's face turned red, a deep crimson that started at his neck and climbed to his temples. My mother's mouth opened slightly, shock flickering across her features before hardening into something cold and brittle. What did you just say to me? My father's voice was low. Dangerous. I said no. I can't give you money this month. I need it. I'm sorry, but I just can't keep living like this. The words tumbled out faster now. Desperation, making me brave or stupid. I was not sure which. I work so hard, and I never have anything for myself. I'm tired. I'm so tired. I did not see him move. 1 second he was standing by the counter, and the next his fist was buried in my stomach. The air rushed out of my lungs in a painful whoosh. I crumpled to the floor, gasping, the cold tiles pressing against my cheek, the envelope of money scattered around me, bills floating down like leaves. You ungrateful little bitch. My father's voice came from above me, distant and echoing. After everything we've done for you, we fed you, we clothed you, we gave you life. And this is how you repay us. I heard footsteps. Lighter ones. Chloe had arrived. Of course she had. She probably came to see what she could buy with my sacrifice this month. Her laugh cut through the ringing in my ears. Daddy, don't break her too badly. She needs to be able to work next week. I need new shoes for the beach shoot. Her voice was bright, cheerful, like she was commenting on the weather. You know, Harper, you really should be grateful. Your money is going to beautiful things, not wasted on your boring life. My mother sipped her coffee, the cup she had brought with her from some expensive cafe. She watched me struggle to breathe with the same detached interest she might give to a reality TV show. Really? Harper, this dramatics is unnecessary. We're family. Family helps each other. My father crouched down, his breath hot against my ear. The pain will teach the animal to obey. His words were soft, almost gentle, which made them so much worse. He stood up and walked away, my mother and sister following him like nothing had happened. But before they left, my father turned back. Bring the money to the house by 6 a.m. tomorrow. Every dollar, or things will get much worse for you. The door closed behind them. I lay on my kitchen floor for 20 minutes before I could breathe normally again. My stomach throbbed. My ribs ached. But worse than the physical pain was the realization washing over me like ice water. I was not their daughter. I was not even a person to them. I was a resource, a tool, an ATM machine with feelings they had learned to ignore. I pulled myself up using the counter edge. The money was still scattered across the floor. I looked at it, really looked at it, and something crystallized in my mind. If I gave them this money, I would be confirming their view of me. I would be saying yes. I am your personal bank account. I am your verbal punching bag. I am the animal you can train with pain. I gathered the bills with shaking hands, put them back in the envelope, grabbed my purse and my keys, and walked out of my apartment. I did not know where I was going. I just knew I could not stay there. I ended up driving for hours, just circling the city with no destination in mind. My stomach hurt with every turn of the steering wheel. I wanted to cry, but the tears would not come. I felt numb, hollowed out, like someone had scooped out everything inside me and left only a shell. Around 3 a.m., I pulled into a 24-hour diner parking lot and just sat there. My phone was blowing up. Text after text from my father, my mother, Chloe, threats, manipulations, demands. I turned the phone face down and stared at the neon sign flickering in the window. Eat here, it said, as if eating was the solution to anything. A tap on my window made me jump. It was Marcus, a coworker from the marketing firm. We had worked together on a few projects but never really talked outside of work. He was holding a coffee cup and looking concerned. "Harper, you okay? It's 3 in the morning." He seemed genuinely worried, which was such a foreign concept to me that I almost started crying right there. I rolled down the window. "I'm fine. Just needed to clear my head." He did not look convinced. "You're sitting in a dark parking lot at 3 a.m. That's not fine. That's the opposite of fine." He paused. "Look, I don't want to pry, but if you need somewhere to crash, my couch is available. No strings, new questions." The kindness in his offer broke something in me. I nodded, not trusting my voice. He got in his car, and I followed him to a small apartment complex across town. True to his word, he showed me the couch, gave me a blanket and pillow, and went to his room without asking a single question. I lay there in the darkness of a stranger's living room, and finally let myself cry. Not loud, dramatic sobs, but quiet tears that soaked into the pillow Marcus had given me. I cried for the childhood I never had, for the daughter they never wanted, for the woman I had let myself become, small and afraid and always apologizing for taking up space. The next morning, Marcus made coffee and toast and still did not ask questions. But he said something that stuck with me. "Whatever you're going through, Harper, I hope you know you deserve better. You're one of the smartest, hardest working people at the office. Anyone who makes you feel less than that is wrong." It was such a simple statement, but it planted a seed. I thanked him and went to work, moving through the day like a zombie. My phone kept ringing. I turned it off. During lunch, I went to a bank and opened a new account, one my parents did not know about. I transferred some of my money there. Not much, but enough to feel like I was taking a step. That evening, I did not go home. I could not face that apartment, that kitchen floor, the ghost of my father's words still echoing in the space. Instead, I went to a motel, the cheapest one I could find. It was dingy, and the sheets smelled like bleach. But it was mine. No one could walk in unannounced. No one could hurt me there. For 3 days, I lived out of my car, and that motel room. I called in sick to work, which I had never done before. I needed time to think, to plan, to figure out who I was without the weight of their expectations crushing me. On the 4th day, I went to work and ran into Sarah Jenkins, my supervisor. She pulled me aside, her expression serious. "Harper, you look exhausted. Is everything okay at home?" The question was so direct, so concerned, that I found myself telling her the truth. Not all of it, but enough. The financial pressure, the impossible demands, the feeling of never being enough. I did not mention the violence. I was not ready for that yet. Sarah listened without interrupting. When I finished, she said, "Harper, that's financial abuse. What you're describing is abuse." She said it so matter-of-factly, like it was an obvious diagnosis. "Have you thought about talking to HR? We have resources, employee assistance programs, counselors." I had not thought about it because I had never labeled what was happening to me as abuse. It was just my family being difficult. That was what I had told myself for years. But hearing Sarah name it, claim it as something real and wrong, gave me permission to see it clearly for the first time. That day marked the beginning of my transformation. I found a studio apartment, tiny and expensive, but mine. I moved my belongings while my parents were out, leaving no note, no forwarding address. I changed my phone number. I set up automatic transfers to my new secret savings account. Every paycheck, before my parents could know it existed. I siphoned off money for myself. And I worked. God, how I worked. I took on every extra project at the office. I stayed late. I learned new software systems on weekends. I made myself indispensable. Within 6 months, I was promoted to junior account manager. My salary nearly doubled, but my family found me anyway. They always did. They showed up at my new apartment one evening, furious and entitled. My mother's voice was shrill. "We need your help. Financial help. Chloe's campaign is in trouble. You have to contribute. It's your duty as part of this family." My father was more direct. "You're stronger now because of us. You owe us respect. Bring money tomorrow morning." The difference was that this time, I was not afraid. I looked at them standing in my doorway. These people who had raised me to believe I was nothing without them. And I felt something new. Not anger. Exactly. More like clarity. "No," I said. Simple. Final. They argued. They threatened. They tried every manipulation tactic that had worked for years, but I held firm. Eventually, they left, promising this was not over. They were right. It was not over. But the battle had shifted. I was no longer fighting to survive their demands. I was fighting to build something they could never touch. The real turning point came a year later. I had been promoted again. This time to assistant manager in the client services division. Part of my new role involved overseeing payment processing for influencer marketing campaigns. It was tedious work, ensuring that all contracts had proper documentation, insurance certificates, liability waivers, and deliverable schedules before funds could be released. One afternoon, I was reviewing a batch of new campaign requests when I saw a familiar name. Chloe Harper. My sister. She was listed as the primary talent for a luxury lifestyle brand campaign, and they needed payment processing approval for a studio booking deposit. My hands trembled as I opened the file. There she was. My sister's carefully curated portfolio photos, her engagement metrics, her rate card. The studio booking was for $15,000. A significant shoot with a prestigious photographer. This was her big break. The kind of opportunity she had been chasing for years, with money she had squeezed from my paychecks. I read through the requirements checklist. Contract signed. Model release forms. Portfolio samples. Insurance certificate. My eyes stopped on that last item. Insurance certificate. Required. Non-negociable. The field was empty. According to our company policy, no payment could be processed without proof of liability insurance. It protected the company, the client, and the talent from potential legal issues. Every legitimate professional in the industry had it. It was standard. I picked up my phone and called the number listed for Chloe's management. My mother answered. Of course she did. She had probably set herself up as Chloe's manager to sound more professional. Eleanor Harper speaking. She said in her fake business voice. "This is Harper from Elevate Marketing. I'm processing a campaign payment request for Chloe Harper, and we're missing the liability insurance certificate. Can you send that over?" There was a pause. "Insurance, we don't have that yet. Richard was supposed to handle it, but he's been busy. Can't you just process it without that? The studio needs the deposit by Friday or we lose the booking." "No, ma'am. Company policy requires all documentation before fund release. It's automatic in the system. I can't override it." I could hear my mother's breathing getting faster. "Harper, is that you? Is this your number?" "This is my work number." "Yes." "Well then, you can just approve it. You work there. This is your sister's big opportunity and you're going to ruin it over some stupid paperwork. I need the insurance certificate. You have 72 business hours to submit it. After that, the request will be automatically declined and you'll need to resubmit." I kept my voice professional, detached. I was not her daughter in this moment. I was a company representative following protocol. She started yelling. I hung up and logged the conversation in the compliance notes. Required documentation missing. Waiting for submission. I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel vengeful. I felt nothing except a profound sense of rightness. For the first time in my life, I had something they needed. And the rules that governed it were not theirs to break. The next 72 hours were chaos on their end. My personal phone, which I had finally been forced to unblock them on, after they showed up at my office once. Exploded with messages. My father demanded I override the system. My mother begged. Chloe sent a string of increasingly frantic voice notes about her reputation being destroyed. About losing her chance. About me being jealous and bitter and sabotaging her success. I read every message. I listened to every voice note. And I did nothing. On hour 71, they submitted documentation. It was a hastily purchased insurance policy, the cheapest they could find online, with half the fields filled out incorrectly. I rejected it and sent it back with detailed notes on what needed to be corrected. Standard procedure. The same thing I would do for any client. They ran out of time. The studio, needing confirmation of payment to hold the booking, to release the date to another influencer who had her documentation in order. Chloe's big break went to someone more professional. Someone who understood that opportunities were not granted based on last names and emotional manipulation, but on meeting requirements and following through on commitments. My mother showed up at my office the next day. She did not make an appointment. She just walked in during business hours and demanded to see me. Security called me down to the lobby. She looked terrible. Her makeup was smeared. Her clothes wrinkled. How could you do this to your sister? How could you be so cruel? I did not do anything except follow company policy. The same policy that applies to everyone. Chloe needed insurance documentation. She did not provide it in time. That's not cruelty. That's consequences. You could have helped her. You could have made an exception. No, I could not have. And even if I could have, I would not have. I felt calm saying it. Grounded. For years, you taught me that my value was in how much money I could provide. You taught me that my needs did not matter. You taught me that I was an animal that needed pain to learn obedience. Remember that Dad said that right before he punched me in my kitchen. She flinched. People in the lobby were starting to stare. Well, I learned that I'm worth more than being your ATM. I learned that real success comes from preparation and professionalism, not from bleeding other people dry. And I learned that the rules apply to everyone, even the golden child. We're your family, she whispered. Family does not beat each other for saying no. Family does not treat each other like resources to be mined. You want me to help Chloe fine? Tell her to get proper insurance. Fill out the forms correctly, and resubmit. I'll process it the same day. Same as I would for anyone else. But I will not break the rules for her. Not anymore. I walked away and went back to my desk. My hands were shaking, but it was not from fear. It was from the adrenaline of finally standing up for myself in a way that could not be physically beaten back down. The weeks that followed were hard. My family launched a campaign to turn relatives against me. I was selfish. I was vindictive. I had ruined Chloe's career over petty jealousy. Some relatives believed them. Others, the ones who had quietly watched my exploitation for years, reached out to me privately with support. Chloe's reputation in the influencer community took a hit. Word got around that she was unreliable, that her team could not handle basic professional requirements. Bigger campaigns stopped reaching out. She was stuck doing smaller brand deals and local boutique promotions. My parents' financial situation deteriorated. Without my monthly contributions, they could not maintain the lifestyle they had built on my back. They downsized. They sold things. They asked relatives for loans. And they came back to me. Not with apologies, but with one final demand disguised as reconciliation. My father called me 6 months after the studio incident. His voice was different. Tired. Harper, we need to talk. In person? Please. Against my better judgment, I agreed to meet them at a coffee shop. Neutral territory. Public. They looked older. Worn down. My mother's designer clothes were from last season. My father's watch, the expensive one he loved, was gone. Chloe was not with them, which was telling. We need your help. My father started. I figured. We're in trouble financially. Real trouble. We made some bad investments based on Chloe's projected earnings that did not pan out. We're behind on the mortgage. The car payments. Everything. I sipped my coffee and waited. My mother took over. We know we've been hard on you. We know we've asked a lot. But you're doing well now. We saw your promotion announcement on LinkedIn. Assistant Director of Client Services. That's impressive. We're proud of you. It was the first time they had ever said they were proud of me. It should have felt good. Instead, it felt hollow. And you want money, I said flatly. We want help, my father corrected. We're family. Families help each other. I set down my coffee cup carefully. You're absolutely right. Families do help each other. So here's how I'm willing to help. I will loan you money. Not give. Loan. We'll draw up a formal agreement with a payment schedule and interest rate. You'll pay me back every month like any other creditor. Their faces fell. I also need a written apology. Not for me. For the record. A document acknowledging the physical abuse, the financial exploitation, everything. Signed and witnessed. You're out of your mind, my father snapped. Those are my terms. You want my help, you accept my conditions. All of them. We do this professionally. With documentation, with accountability. Or we do not do it at all. My mother's eyes filled with tears. The manipulative kind. The practiced kind. How can you be so cold to your own parents? I learned from the best. I stood up. You have 1 week to decide. If you agree, I'll have my lawyer draw up the papers. If not, I wish you the best. But I'm done being your solution. They chose pride over help. They never called back. I heard through the family grapevine that they eventually filed for bankruptcy. They moved to a smaller house in a cheaper neighborhood. Chloe moved back in with them. Her influencer dreams stalled permanently by her reputation for unprofessionalism and her parents' inability to fund her lifestyle. As for me, I kept climbing. I made director within 2 years. I bought a condo. I started therapy and worked through the trauma of growing up as a financial hostage. I learned to set boundaries without guilt. I dated someone who treated me like an equal partner instead of a resource. I discovered hobbies that had nothing to do with earning money or proving my worth. On the anniversary of the night, my father hit me. I sat in my home office and looked at my savings account balance. It was more than my parents had extracted from me over all those years combined. Every dollar in that account was mine. Earned by me. Kept by me. Spent by me on things that brought me joy and security. I thought about revenge a lot in those early days after I cut them off. I fantasized about grand confrontations where I would destroy them the way they had tried to destroy me. But the truth is, revenge was not dramatic at all. Revenge was quiet. It was me building a life where they had no power. It was me enforcing professional standards that their golden child could not meet. It was me saying no and watching their carefully constructed house of cards collapse under its own weight. They had taught me that I was worthless without them. But they were wrong. They were the ones who were worthless without me. Without my money, my labor, my silence in the face of their abuse. When I removed myself from their equation, their whole world fell apart. And mine finally began. I do not talk to them anymore. I do not hate them either. Hate requires energy and emotional investment that I prefer to spend on people who value me. They are simply people I used to know. People who taught me what I did not want to become. Sometimes I wonder if Chloe ever figured out that her success was always built on my suffering. I wonder if my parents ever understood that the animal they tried to train learned a very different lesson than the one they intended. I learned that I was not an animal at all. I was a person deserving of respect, autonomy, and the full value of my own labor. The last time I saw them was at a family funeral 2 years ago. We were polite, civil, distant. My mother tried to hug me and I stepped back. My father could not meet my eyes. Chloe asked if I was still at Elevate Marketing, fishing to see if I could help her career. I smiled and changed the subject. After the funeral, an older cousin pulled me aside. She told me she had watched my family drain me for years and had always wanted to say something but did not want to cause drama. She was proud of me for getting out. She said, for choosing myself, I thanked her. But I did not need her approval. I did not need anyone's approval anymore. That was the whole point. Now I live by a simple rule. I help people who respect me. I invest in relationships that are reciprocal. I give freely to those who give freely to me. Not those who take and call it love. I maintain boundaries that protect my peace. And I do not apologize for them. My family taught me that love with conditions is not really love at all. It is a transaction. And I am no longer for sale. So, here is what I want you to take from my story. If you are the person everyone leans on, the one who always sacrifices, the one whose needs always come last, ask yourself this question. Are you helping? Or are you being used? Is your generosity being appreciated or exploited? Are you in a relationship? Or are you a resource? The difference matters. And recognizing that difference is the first step to freedom. Have you ever been the family ATM? Have you ever had to choose between your own survival and someone else's comfort? Drop a comment and share your story. Hit that like button if this resonated with you. Subscribe because I'm sharing more stories about breaking free and building better. And remember, you are worth more than what you can provide to others. You are worth more than your utility. You are worth everything simply because you exist. Thank you for listening to my story. Now go write your own ending.